Okay, we put an incredible amount of trust in AI to help doctors make literal life or death decisions. But here's the thing. What happens when that AI is designed to learn on the job? Constantly changing and evolving. How can we be sure it's still safe? Well, that's the big question behind a new framework called AEGIS. And in this explainer, we're going to break down how it acts as a critical safety net for the medicine of the future. So, to really get why we need something like AEGIS, we first have to talk about this hidden danger, a kind of failure that our current safety systems are frankly completely blind to. I want you to imagine this. There's an AI helping doctors spot sepsis. For months, it's a superstar, it's saving lives. But then, slowly, so subtly that nobody even notices, its accuracy starts to slip. It's not some big dramatic crash that sets off alarms. No, it's this quiet, silent drift toward making bad calls. How would anyone even know it was happening before it was too late? This really dangerous phenomenon has a name. It's called performance drift. And you can think of it like a slow, silent leak in a pipe. Because it's not a single catastrophic adverse event. Our usual safety reporting systems, they don't even see it. The AI can get worse and worse, and the very systems we built to protect patients would be completely in the dark. Now, this isn't some big secret. Regulators know this is a challenge, and they've started making new rules for these learning AI systems. But, as you're about to see, in trying to solve one problem, they kind of created a brand new one. So, starting around 2019, you've got both the FDA here in the US and regulators over in the EU tackling this head-on. They came up with these frameworks, like the FDA's Predetermined Change Control Plan, or PCCP for short. The big idea was to let AI developers plan for future updates in advance, so they don't have to go through the whole painful approval process every single time the model learns something new. But here's the catch. The regulations told companies what they needed to do. Plan your updates, monitor your performance, but they never spelled out how to actually do it. Like, what specific metrics should you track? What's the exact line where an AI goes from safe to unsafe? They left this huge gap between the rules on paper and reality in the clinic. And that gap is exactly what AEGIS was built to fill. All right, so let's get into the solution itself. The absolute best way to think about AEGIS is to picture it as a mission control center, but for medical AI. It just makes sense, right? Every time a medical AI gets an update, it's basically a new mission launch. AEGIS is the whole infrastructure that monitors that mission, from the pre-flight checks all the way to a safe landing, making absolutely sure it never, ever veers off course. So at its heart, AEGIS is this continuous three-part loop. It's designed to constantly be managing new data, monitoring the AI's performance with that data, and then making an automated decision about its safety. This whole cycle just repeats over and over with every single update, creating this constant feedback and protection system. Let's break those 3 steps down. First, you've got the data module. It's called DARM, and it acts like a strict quarantine station, sorting all the incoming data. Second, there's the monitoring module, the MMM, which is basically the mission dashboard, tracking all the AI's vitals. And finally, the decision module, the CDM, that's the flight director. It makes that final automated go or no-go call on whether the new AI is safe to launch. And here's where the data management gets really, really smart. To avoid any bias, the DARM module splits the data into 3 separate buckets. You've got a training set to update the model, and a drifting set to check performance on the very newest data, but the most important one is the golden data set. This one is static. It's an unchanging benchmark that is never used for training, and what that means is that every new version of the AI gets tested against the exact same gold standard, giving us a true, unbiased look at whether it's actually getting better or worse. Okay, so this next part, this is probably the most powerful and honestly innovative feature of the whole AEGIS framework. It's a unique safety system that runs on 2 parallel tracks at the same time. So, track 1 is all about evaluating the new model, the one that's been retrained with all that new data. It asks a really simple question. Is this new version safe to deploy? And based on the answer, the system makes one of 4 clear decisions, ranging from a full-on approve to a hard reject. Now, here is the real game changer. While track 1 is busy deciding on the future model, track 2 is, completely independently, asking a totally different question. Is the model that doctors are using right now, is it still performing safely? And if it detects a problem, it issues its own separate alarm signal. This is just brilliant. One track governs the future, while the other protects the present. Because of this two-track system, AEGIS can identify a super dangerous situation that, before this, was impossible to even describe, let alone detect, the critical state where you get both a reject and an alarm at the exact same time. Let's break down why this is so important. A reject means the new, updated AI, it's not safe to launch. An alarm means the AI already in use in hospitals is failing. So when you get both of them together, it's the ultimate red flag. It's a signal to doctors that neither version of the AI is safe and that they need to switch to their backup protocols immediately. And look, this isn't just a cool idea on a whiteboard. The researchers behind AEGIS have actually put it to the test, and they've proved it's a practical and incredibly versatile tool for AI safety. What's just remarkable is that they applied the exact same abstract AEGIS architecture to two completely different medical problems. I mean, one was predicting sepsis from patient health records. We're talking spreadsheet data. The other was segmenting brain tumors from 3D MRI scans, super complex imaging data. And AEGIS worked for both, just by tweaking the configuration, not the core logic. And here are the actual results from that sepsis trial. So over 11 simulated updates, AEGIS correctly gave 8 approved decisions. But, and this is key, it also proved it had teeth. It flagged one model for conditional approval, sent another for a human clinical review, and slammed an outright reject on one model when its performance fell below the safety floor they'd set. It used every single one of its safety features, exactly like it was designed to. So when you put this all together, AEGIS provides that critical missing piece of the puzzle. It perfectly bridges that gap between what regulators want and what engineers can actually build. It is the operational how that turns these abstract safety goals into a real, automated, and trustworthy system. Ultimately, AEGIS really forces us to ask a much bigger question. As we build AI that gets more and more powerful, how do we make sure that it's also becoming provably safer with every single update? Frameworks like this suggest that the answer lies not just in writing better algorithms, but in building much better governance around them.